Hi everyone that's waiting for the live event. We're just waiting for our speakers to come in. We should be ready in about 10 minutes. So if you'd like to rejoin then that would be great. We're using a new streaming service, so we're just getting the hang of it. So it has started a little bit early, but this will be starting at 12, as we've said. So yeah, in about 10 minutes we'll be going live. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our mywage live here. It's a LinkedIn live, and we're going to be speaking to Emma and Matt. I had to join from my phone because there was some connection difficulties. You know what it's like with technology, folks. So just waiting for Emma and Matt to join us. But today we're going to be talking all about year end, mywage, and it's payroll year end. How to make it a bit easier for everybody. And we're going to be talking about the national minimum wage with Emma, employer NI increase with Matt, and all kinds of topics, including employment allowance. So we're just waiting for Emma and Matt to join us. There's Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we're live. I know that Grace is new to Restream, so she went live and we weren't on the screen, but sure, we're here now, everybody. So thanks, Emma, and thanks, Grace. Don't panic. You know, technology can be difficult sometimes. And, you know, I had said, yes, you click go live. And she was like, she clicked go live. I was like, no, not yet. So to anyone watching, thank you for your patience. Thank you very much. And I know Matt is joining us as well. So, Emma, how are you today?
Yes, I'm very well, thanks, Sam. It's
I had to join from my phone actually, so excuse the way I look, but
no, it's okay. I was saying we've got a nice blue on for my wage, so
like we got the memo. We got the memo. I wonder what Matt is wearing. So welcome, Emma. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself actually first, while waiting?
yeah, absolutely. So I've been in payroll now longer than I like to admit. With obviously my youthful appearance, we won't spoil the camera by saying how old I am. But yeah, I've been in payroll for quite a few years. I mainly go about doing implementations now, so primarily making sure that people move over into our payroll software nice and smoothly. But before that, I've done in-house implementations and obviously end-to-end payroll as well. So yeah, a little bit of a payroll geek, but who can't be these days with all the exciting changes HMRC throws at us? And actually, Sam, I was literally saying, I was rereading some of my notes and realised that only the other day there was a new announcement that I needed to pop into my slides. So We're
Oh,
officially up to date now.
it's like social media, isn't it? There's always updates. I mean, even with this restream streaming platform, there's always updates. So everything is changing, and technology is so important, and that's why it's so important to be aware of what's out there to help you, especially if you're a payroll person and you're working in the payroll department. So, let's start with you, Emma, okay? Because I know there are some difficulties coming into the stream because I had them myself. So maybe Matt might want to join from the phone. I don't know if you want to send a message, Grace, to see if he wants to join from the phone. So the national minimum wage, what changes are coming to the national minimum wage, and what should employers look out for?
Yeah, so national minimum wage, there's a few increases to be aware of. The biggest one actually is for apprentices. So apprentices in the first year, and also the age of 16 to 17 bracket, they're getting an 18% increase, which is quite a big one actually. It's £1.15, which doesn't sound like much, but compared to some of the other ones, it takes them up to £7.55 an hour. So that's one of the biggest increases that we've seen on those particular tiers in quite some time. And I think that does bring everyone back to sort of the idea of getting everyone onto a similar level and not having too much disparity between the age groups and obviously the earnings that people get. Which does mean that the 16 to 17 bracket, say, has had that increase, and then the 18 to 20 has also had quite a nice increase as well at 16.3%. So that's £1.40, which is obviously slightly higher, but it's a slightly smaller increase. And that does mean that they're getting £10 an hour now. So the difference between 21 and 18 to 20, that gap is now closing. So for those of 21 and above, we're getting a 6.7% increase, which equates to 77p. And that takes the rate up to £12.20. So you can see there's only a £2.21 difference between 18 to 20-year-olds and 21 and above. And obviously, as always, these minimum rates apply from the 1st of April. One thing that is always important, and I think it's something that employers really do need to focus on around this time of year for their first either week one, month one pay, dependent on their pay frequency, is making sure those people that have anything like salary sacrifices, including our earnings attachments, if we're taking the pound off for the administration fee, we need to make sure we're reassessing all of those employees so they are actually receiving the national minimum wage for the hourly rate that they are supposed to be on. And obviously within that does mean that we need to make sure that we're paying full attention to our proportions. So making sure that we're using the right 52-week calculation for anyone who is receiving an annual salary that's being broken down, because that is where some employers fall foul, and it can be very simply a penny difference either way, which will obviously put you under the national minimum wage and be a big risk to employers, because HMRC will charge you and fine you and also report you on the on the naughty list, shall we say. So it's something that we do need to watch out for. So yeah, they're the big changes to national minimum wage. Obviously, there are other ones that have gone up a little bit and that sort of thing as well, but they're the big ones to sort of be aware of. But as I say, our main one is making sure that anyone on a salary sacrifice scheme, including salary sacrifice pensions or any other sort of benefit scheme where they pay into something, and even if they're getting the money back at the end of it, still have to make sure they're receiving the national minimum wage in the period that they are being paid.
Emma, you know your stuff. Whew, well done. Well done. We're going to carry on just with your questions, Emma, okay?
Yeah.
Because so like the employment allowance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So with a new increase to employers' national insurance, is there anything coming to support this increased bill?
Yes, so the employment allowance has gone up now. It used to be 5,000. It actually went up from 4,000 to 5,000. Now it's at 10,500 for the 25-26 tax year. So that does mean that obviously people will be able to claim some more money back. And interestingly enough, the secondary threshold has been removed. So previously you had to have less than 100,000 in liabilities in the previous tax year to actually claim the employment allowance. But that limit has now been taken away. So it does mean that pretty much every employer out there, obviously, please check, make sure that there's no other criteria that you might fall foul of and you can't claim it. But most employers out there now will be able to claim that employment allowance. And the beauty of the employment allowance for those who are relatively small employers is that if you don't claim it all back within that tax year, so if your bill never goes above that 10,500, then you are able to use it to either pay outstanding bills or to reclaim the amount back. But obviously you need to do that at the end of the tax year. So something to think about in next April, basically. But yeah, if you don't actually claim that full 10,500 in the current tax year, you can use it for other bills or reclaim it back after the end of the tax year's over. So it's a really good one, and something that everyone should be aware of, I think, because obviously there are a lot of employers out there now that don't meet the criteria, so they weren't ticking it on their EPS. Specifically in mywage, it's something that you need to make sure you update as part of our year-end process, and make sure that that tick is there on all of the EPSs that are issued to HMRC throughout the 25-26 tax year.
Actually, in the background, there he is.
Hi there.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I had to join from my phone. Did you have to join from your phone, Matt, as well?
I have to join from my phone.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It must be a glitch today. So apologies to our audience, but I was in the same situation. And I know that Grace is in the background. So Grace, don't click end until we finish it. Just that's all you need to know, Grace. So don't worry about the rest of it. So we're here, Matt, with you. I'm going to actually ask your question, Matt. First of all, Matt, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
So I'm one of the Salesforce implementers here at mywage. My background is business analysis, system change, things like that. And my job is really to kind of make Salesforce fly for our client customers.
Great. And for the employer NI increase, can I ask you about that? What changes are coming to national insurance for employers to be aware of? And I'm going to go on mute while you're speaking.
No problem. It's one of those that's kind of give with one hand, take away with another. Poor phrasing there, forgive me. But basically, what's happening with the NI increase is we're increasing to 15%. I think everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows that NI is going up to 15% for earnings after the 6th of April. The thing people might not know, the thing you do need to be aware of, is there might be a slight increase to the lower earnings limit. Now, obviously, in mywage, that's not anything you need to worry about. We'll handle that for you. But otherwise, it is a sneaky little change. So basically, employees might find that they need to earn a slightly higher amount before they start paying NICs. Otherwise, pretty much all the NICs are unchanged, and we think that'll be until 2028, but your guess is as good as mine.
So for small employer relief, Matt, you were going to take up that question, which is, and for smaller employers, what extra support is available there?
So for smaller employers, I said we were going to give with one hand, take away with another. So small employers, the compensation rate, so that's the bit that's on top of your 100% reclaim, that's going up from 3% to 8.5%, which is good. However, you've got to bear in mind that 15% increase in employer NICs. So some businesses who previously qualified for small employer relief might no longer qualify for small employer relief.
You see, I get really confused as a small business owner myself, you know, with all the changes. And this is all double Dutch to me. I will be honest to anyone in the audience. In case I look like I don't know what he's talking about, I actually don't know what he's talking about because this is not my space. But this is why people like you are so important, you and Emma and mywage, the whole platform. Like you mentioned, mywage will take care of that for you. Can you explain?
So basically in the background, I mean, you know, from our point of view, you hit payroll calculate, and in the background, the system looks at the date, looks at your employees, looks at how much you've paid, and figures all that out for you.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Now, small employers relief is really important for you as a small employer because what it means is that you can basically claim back all of your statutory contributions. So it's definitely something that's worth digging into. If you
I think a lot of small business owners don't know, do they, what they're entitled to and what they can benefit from?
Absolutely. And the threshold is fairly generous, 45,000 a year. There is a watch out there, 40,000 for a full tax year before the employee's qualifying week, or there's a thing called matching week for adoptions, but basically that's the whole tax year until somebody is qualified for it. And so it's a fairly decent chunk of cash you can reclaim there, and you reclaim that through your employer payment summary, your EPS.
Okay. So Emma, what about neonatal care, Emma? The 25-26 tax year sees the implementation of a new scheme for new parents. What is neonatal care and who can claim it?
Yes. So this was what I was saying. I had to update myself because the changes were announced, and obviously the actual rules and eligibility behind it hadn't been announced until very recently, which is always great for us. In terms of obviously software providers, it's fine because the actual rules and criteria are more from a HR and people management side of things, because this is the entry. But basically, neonatal care, it was first introduced in the Neonatal Care Act in 2023. So it's coming obviously into payroll now from 25-26. And that will be for children born on or after the 6th of April 2025. So again, it's the start of the tax year when these things apply. So neonatal care itself is a period of up to 12 weeks. The 12-week period depends on the criteria of the condition for the child. So it is a child who is 28 days or younger, who has been admitted either to hospital or is under, and this is where it gets slightly complicated, under the care of a consultant, so receiving ongoing monitoring. So you don't actually physically have to be in a hospital, but if you have someone coming in day out, then that would qualify you as well. And also end of life care. So again, that might not be taking place in a hospital. The only thing to note, as I say, is that a child has to be 28 days or younger. So if they need to go back into neonatal care when they hit 29 days, you won't qualify for neonatal care at that point. Neonatal care is broken down into what they're classing as neonatal care leave, so NCL, and then neonatal care pay, NCP, which is a car park, which makes me laugh. But anyway, so eligibility for the leave itself is a day one right. Anyone can take neonatal care from day one. The only thing that you need to be aware of is, will you get paid for it? And you will only get paid for it if you meet the same eligibility criteria, basically as maternity, shared parental, etc. So you need to be employed for long enough and you need to be earning enough to receive that pay. That pay rate is going up. So one of the things that happens every tax year, the leave goes up. So we're getting £187.18 from the previous £184.03, and that's the weekly rate. So there is a small 1.7% increase there to be aware of from a software provider. It's all done in the background, as I say, from an implementation or a payroll perspective. You just need to make sure that you've got that right period between when the pay is paid. So anything after the 6th or the 4th needs to hit the new rates. The other bits of entry criteria for who can claim the leave is set out in this terminology. So please take no offense. This is HMRC's terminology. So it's set out as the baby's parent or intended parent, and that's in relation to adoption or surrogacy. And also the partner of the baby's mother, if you are going to have a responsibility for raising the child. And again, the partner is defined as an enduring relationship, so not a relative, so it can't be a grandparent, etc. It has to be the partner. But it does mean that up to 3 people could claim neonatal care in this instance. The mother, the father, and also the mother's partner could all claim for neonatal care. So it does cover everyone that might be involved in raising the child. So lots of entry criteria to think about. The only other thing really to think about with the neonatal care is when to process the payment. So if you are taking maternity leave, adoption leave, or parental leave, paternity or shared parental leave, sorry, you wouldn't stop those types of leave. They are ongoing leave, so you would have already that set out. So the actual neonatal care is paid at the end. So obviously with maternity, child is born, maternity leave starts. If they are then receiving neonatal care, you actually add it on to the end, which does mean that you can take up to 68 weeks then at the end, once you've added the neonatal care on. But you have to take it by that time. So again, the intent to take the neonatal care really should start as soon as the maternity or parental leave has ended. There are another couple of nuances, which is the tiers. So we have a tier 1 and a tier 2. Tier 1 being taking leave during, basically. So this would be for most of the time, this would be for the father, because the parental leave or the paternity leave, sorry, is only for 1 week or 2 week blocks. So if they've taken a 1 week block and then the child goes into neonatal care or is still in neonatal care, they can take their leave subsequently. And for that one, it kind of follows sickness. You have to let your employer know before you're due to start work, but you don't have to give them advance notice. It is just a case of the baby is in hospital, I am taking my neonatal care, and obviously you will be able to take that. For tier 2, this is going to be mainly to be added at the end. So again, for adoptions or maternity. So these are for periods after the 7 days after the neonatal care has started. And they need to be taken in continuous blocks. So whereas the tier 1, you could take it, maybe the baby comes out of hospital, then the baby goes back into hospital or something else happens, and they can just follow the actual care being given. Whereas the tier 2, as I say, is added at the end, and it tends to be in a block. There is a couple, again, from a HR people perspective, criteria for notice. There's a difference between if you need to take 1 week or 2 weeks or more. The intent or the notice needs to be given by the 15th day if you plan, or 15 days before you plan to take the leave. If you're only taking 1 block, it goes up to 28 days if you're taking 2 blocks. In all honesty, I've never come across an employer that stops leave if they haven't had the right amount of notice, because it's just not the done thing. But obviously that's the law and that's the rule. So they need to make sure they're letting you know with those periods of notice and intention. The only thing that's probably a little bit odd is how you notify or what you need to provide. So it's not like with maternity or adoption where you'll have a placement certificate or you'll have a MAP-B1 form that you can provide to your employer. What you do is just give them the dates. The only thing that you need to do is make an intention or a notice that says that I plan on taking this leave because I need to and I meet the criteria. So again, it's kind of just covering the employer to say, I've been told I'm allowed to pay it, therefore I'm going to pay it, because obviously they can claim that back. And with the small employers relief, they might be claiming back more. And we need to make sure that we're saying that we've definitely checked all of the information that they provided us. I know that's a lot of information, but I say with it being a new scheme, there's quite a lot to take in. So for anyone who has anyone taking neonatal care from the 6th of April, please check with HMRC and other guidance out there as well. As always, check with ACAS, check with CIPP. They always produce really good documentation for these types of leaves, and so you know what to do and when to do it.
Gosh, it seems to be a lot on the payroll person. Like, it's like, and I don't think they get the attention that they deserve. I think, sorry, my device is overheating. I just got a notification that my device is overheating. So if I explode live on air, you'll know what it was. Matt, question, from a systems point of view, are there any precautions you should take during the year-end process?
Well, other than keeping your phone on ice, Sam, maybe. We don't want any wet ice, right? So don't put your phone in water. That's a bad thing. So with payroll, what I would do with the end of year process is treat it like a system change. We do this every year, but because it's such a kind of important milestone, I would treat it as any major system change. So number 1, and I can't state this enough, and okay, this is teaching people to suck eggs, but you definitely want to take your backups. Make sure your backups have been taken. And with Payroll, obviously, it's important that those backups are securely stored. And you also need to bear in mind that kind of 3-year retention rule. Probably not so important for the backup as the main system, but equally, if you know you're going to keep those backups for 3 years, you can plan that, and that ticks off that retention period. There's a couple of different ways to do backups in systems. For us, we can do a full data export from our system. I think most systems will do that for you. Somewhere there will be a button that says take backup, and absolutely 100% tick that. For us, we've also got a thing called a sandbox, which is what it sounds like. It's an area to play in, but also it's kind of an immediate copy of your data. So definitely take the opportunity to refresh your sandbox. The other added benefit there is you can have a dry run. You can practice your year-end process without interfering with your live data. So that's a definite positive there.
Just
Sorry,
to let you know, my phone actually cut off because it said it was overheating. So I just said, oh gosh, maybe I will explode live on air. So I've just joined from the laptop. So just thanks, Grace, for doing all that there in the background. There's always someone in the background, like the payroll. There's always someone in the background. Carry on there, Matt. Was there another bit there that you were talking about? Because I got cut off there. Sorry.
No worries. I was just restating: take your backups, take your backups, take your backups, and as many as possible. The other thing to consider at the end of the year is housekeeping. And in payroll systems, we're generally pretty blessed with really good quality data, certainly compared to sales systems, to other systems. But it's still a really good opportunity to just kind of kick the tires, make sure, in particular, your email addresses. If you're mailing out P60s, that your mail addresses are up to date. Making sure that when you hit that send on that P60 at the end of the year, it's going to go to who you think it's going to go to.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Emma, as well. I don't know if you have any questions from the audience, but I don't think so. But look, if there's any question, we will go back to LinkedIn. And if you want, in the comments, there might be some questions, Emma and Matt, that we can follow up with. And definitely, if anyone is interested in learning more about mywage, go to mywage.co. You can actually scan the QR code here on the screen. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up, Emma?
As Matt said, just make sure that we're following the year-end process and make sure we keep ourselves up to date. As you say, there are a lot of things that go on, and in the payroll world, you need to have about 5 different brains to store all of the different bits of information. But as always, there's lots of guidance and help out there from systems like ourselves that provide year-end information and things like this. Also, obviously, anywhere, if you Google it, you'll be able to find some information about it. Whether or not you trust it is another thing, but definitely play about with Mr. Google. You'll be able to find all the information you need about the end of year.
Excellent. And you're involved in the summit that's coming up. We have a payroll summit, which is coming up on the 25th of April, folks. So definitely, if you want to meet Emma and Matt and myself, we will be speaking at that. So maybe come along. The 25th of April, it's in London. I think we're confirming the venue this week, but it's in a lovely place in London, and you can meet other payroll people just like yourself, or even come along if you are in charge of a payroll team, or if you're a CEO actually, or head of IT, definitely. Who else should come along, Matt, do you think?
I think anyone who has an interest in payroll, in automation, in staffing, in making their lives better. I'll be talking about AI and how we can use that to enhance payroll. And by the way, folks, Matt's top tip of the day: don't rely on ChatGPT to give you advice on the end of year process, because it does tend to be a touch out of date. Use Google. Matt's top tip of the day.
Or look at, I think at mywage, if you're not following mywage on LinkedIn, definitely follow us, because we do give out a lot of useful tips and useful strategies and useful things for the payroll person. And we know that there are so many humans behind the scenes in payroll doing amazing things and helping us to get paid. And I will be speaking about LinkedIn and how to stand out on LinkedIn and optimize your LinkedIn as well, folks. And Emma, what are you going to be? You're going to be speaking as well. Do you know what your topic is yet?
Yes, I'll do a very quick update like we've done today about the year end. We're into the new year by then, so most people will know it, but again, just to reiterate it. But then I'll be talking about the big thing coming for 26-27, which is payrolling benefits. So if you have any benefits at all, I would certainly recommend jumping on and watching that session, because it's a lot to take in, and there are a lot from a system perspective that in the background we're going to be asking our poor R&D team to do, because there's lots of new fields. But it also means making sure you've got that right information as well, and reporting that over to HMRC from 26-27 is going to be, I'd say, relatively complicated. So it's definitely something to get on top of now. I definitely plan early. April 2025 seems like a good time to start planning for April 26.
Excellent. Well done. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We will check over the comments on LinkedIn to see was there any questions that we missed. And Grace, I know that you were working in the background. If you want to click end, you can click end now. Thank you, everybody.